Hello, chemists. We're here to talk about chemical compounds, specifically subscripts and coefficients today. A chemical compound is a substance composed of two or more elements that are chemically bonded in a definite fixed ratio by mass. Here we have sodium chloride, which you can see is one sodium atom plus one chloride atom. Here's a close-up view of the one sodium donating one electron to the one chloride atom. That's how they're chemically bonded. They either donate electrons, accept electrons, or they share them. And we'll talk more about the kinds of bonding in another episode. Compounds can have more than one each kind of atom. Here is sulfuric acid, and you can see in this molecule of sulfuric acid, there are one sulfur, that's the S. There are four oxygen atoms, those are the red balls here in this ball and stick model of the molecule, and there are two hydrogens. How many of each atom is represented by the coefficient? That's the number here in the chemical formula. We can circle it here. So there's two hydrogens. One, two. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygen atoms. And then there's just one sulfur. So we represent how many of each atom present in a molecule with the subscripts. The subscripts here are 2 for hydrogen. You don't write the 1 for sulfur, but you can imagine it in there, and 4 for oxygen. So the subscripts tell you how many of each kind of element. So we want to know how many atoms are in this compound, how many atoms are in this molecule right here of sulfuric acid. Now we could just look at the ball and stick model here and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we don't always have a ball and stick model to look at. So we need to learn how to do it from looking at the chemical formula here. And if we look at the subscripts and know that the subscripts, if they're not written, are 1, we can count up how many atoms are in the compound. There's 2 here, 4 here, and we know sulfur has 1, even though the number isn't written. So 2 plus 1 plus 4 equals 7. Now, sometimes we're going to see a coefficient written on a number. That coefficient represents how many of the molecule of that compound are present. In this case, the 3 here represents 1, 2, 3 sulfuric acid molecules. So if it's in front here, it's a coefficient and it represents how many molecules. It's different than a subscript, which is the number down here. A coefficient is this number out in front, and it represents how many molecules. So if we take the coefficient and the subscripts together, we can figure out how many atoms we have in this particular case. In this case, we have to multiply. We have to use the distributive property. And it's going to look something like this. We know that we have 2 hydrogens because we have a subscript 2 right here. We know we have 1 sulfur because there's no subscript, so we can just imagine a 1. And we know we have 4 oxygens. So if we have 3 of these molecules, we have 3 times 2, so that's 6 hydrogens. We have 3 times 1, that's 3 sulfurs. And we have 3 times 4 here, which is 12 oxygens. So if we add all these numbers up, 6 plus 3 plus 12, 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 12 is 21 atoms altogether. Let's see if we were correct. So we know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 atoms in each of these molecules. So if there's 7 plus 7 plus 7, that's 21, or 3 times 7 equals 21. If you want, you can pause the video and you can count it all out. You can count every single one of these atoms, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and etc. So if we use the coefficient and the subscripts, we can figure out how many atoms we have. Let's practice with water. It's your turn this time. How many molecules do we have? I gave you a little hint right here. I drew out three water molecules. And now we have to figure out how many atoms we have. Let's multiply it out. That's 3 times 2 hydrogens. I'm using the subscript on hydrogen to know that I have 2 hydrogens. This is hydrogen. And I have 1 oxygen. It's not written, but we can imagine there's a subscript 1 under the oxygen. So if we multiply that out using the distributive property, we end up with 6 hydrogens. That's 3 times 2. And 3 times 1 is 3 oxygens. And 6 plus 3 equals 9 total atoms. We can check our work here by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're correct. Now you're ready to do the A.05 worksheet. Thanks a lot.